All right, Gail will call the Board of Public Works and Capital Assets meeting to order. Well, there's Goose.
Okay.
Doing well. I'll skip.
Morning, everybody.
Chris. We keep juggling people around.
Everyone.
Yeah, Lisa's not here today.
Okay. No, Lisa. Let's call the Board of Public Works and Capital Assets of September 16th to order. Roll call.
Gail is here.
Guzikowski here.
Seifert here.
Segala here. Okay. Approval of minutes from 8:10, 2025, or 8:11. I'm sorry, 8:12. Any changes or
Motion.
motion?
Seifert moves to approve the minutes of 8/12/2025.
Roll call.
Gail, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Alrighty. Number 4, consider a motion to review, common council actions related to public works. Anything? No? Okay. 5, consider a motion to award the first floor renovation project to the lowest responsible bidder, Broadway Construction, at an estimated cost of $97,839.
Thank you, Alderman Guzikowski. Matt Sullivan, Assistant City Administrator and City Engineer. I'll be taking this item. Also have our Public Health Officer, Darcy, available for questions if you have them. So in early of this year, the Health Department approached our engineering and facilities managers in a request to start looking at the potential for adding an office space within their existing space to house their house one of their staff that conducts, or their public health manager that conducts several like confidential meetings with staff and other things. Right now they're currently working on the floor in a cubicle, which really doesn't provide that space for confidentiality and privacy. So we went through some work with Rinka architectural firm to design a small office. It's about a 10 by 10, not very large, that would facilitate the space and only remove one cubicle. So still would allow functionality in their entire health department space and give that confidential room for them to work in. We put this out to bid. Only one bidder responded to the bidding at this time, and I think a lot of it just has to do on scale. It's a small project, not much that goes into it. Unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but the bids did come at $97,000, which is approximately $100 a square foot. I did some research, and I also spoke with Rinka in regards to that price. It seemed to be a little high to me at the time. Nationwide right now for small office renovations, which would be flooring, painting, minimal things like that, are running anywhere between 50 and 100. And then once you start getting to a little bit more modifications where you're adding walls, dealing with heating, ventilation, sprinkling systems and different things like that, they're looking anywhere from $100 to $175 a square foot. So I kind of see this as a kind of a small medium fix. So being $100 a square foot, I guess, within the industry, we're kind of where it just happens to be for price, which has been scaling up from what I understand throughout the industry since early COVID years of 2020. We would recommend, obviously, out of our engineering department and with Rinka support here, that we would motion a positive on this. It is being funded through ARPA funds, which the health department has received from my understanding is those ARPA funds are coming to the ends of availability, but they do have sufficient funds in that ARPA grant at this time to do the work. If there's any other questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those if it comes to the actual project itself, but funding and needs, I think Darcy would be able to provide you with some responses if needed.
Questions?
I'm good.
Is there a motion on 5?
Yeah, we'll move to award the first floor office renovation project to the lowest responsive responsible bidder, Broadway Construction, in the estimated amount of $97,839.
Galley seconds.
Roll call.
Gale, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Galley, aye.
All right. 6, consider a motion to purchase 18-foot 10K, what is it? 10,000 pound SureTac trailers from Mike's Trailers Sales in the amount of $11,574.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. This purchase is for a couple of our trailers that are primarily used for forestry operations. They're both 2007 trailers. For whatever reason at the time, they weren't necessarily commercial grade. Fortunately, they have survived the test of time, at least to this point. But some of the welds are starting to fail, and they certainly have been overloaded, and they're starting to get a lot of rust and everything on those trailers. So we were looking for a replacement opportunity. It seemed like a good point to do that. Traditionally, we haven't, with these being a little bit smaller of purchases, put them into the normal CIP, one trailer being approximately 5,400, the other 6,200. This was a good point. I think we've had, I know we'd be looking at taking it from like surplus of what we have for our CIP and CEP projects, and we have had some pretty good sales with resales of other items, so felt it would be a good use of those funds and being able to replace these trailers at this point for the forestry department before they essentially fail. I'd like to move forward with them.
And are those available real time, or you gotta wait for them?
Nope, those would be available right away. Yeah, we got a couple of quotes with Mike's trailer coming in a little bit less, and actually those are better trailers as well, for $11,574 for the 2 units.
Questions down here? Not the motion.
Seifert moves to purchase two 18-foot, 10K pound SureTrack trailer from Mike's Trailer Sales Incorporated for the amount of $11,574.
Roll call.
Gale, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Galley, aye.
Number 7, consider a motion to approve final payment for Garden Place Forest Main Relay Project to advance construction.
This as indicated is the final payment to the contractor for replacing the force main at the garden lift station. Everything went well. The project came in under budget, so we're just releasing the retainage at this point. Done with the project.
Comments or questions? Again,
Nope.
nothing on that. Motion.
Galley moves to approve the final payment for the Garden Place Forest Main Relay Project to advance construction in the amount of $2,950.61.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Gale, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Galley, aye.
8, consider a motion to enter into an agreement with J&W Insurance for the purchase of 16 filter rate controllers in the
We've had wear out and deterioration of our existing rate controllers and our filters. They control how hard or how fast valves open and close. It's all done through that system. The buttons on them allow the operators to change that rate controller. Right? We've replaced 6 of them. We're very happy with the product that we've selected. Now we're going to do the other 22. All of it comes in under the budget, $50,000.
Yeah. Comments or questions down there? Ken,
Oh, we're good.
a motion?
You'll move to enter an agreement with J and W Instruments, Inc. for the purchase of 16 filter rate controllers in the amount of $34,920.
Roll call.
Gale's aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Secretary, aye.
All right. 9, consider a motion to approve the utility vouchers. Utility vouchers.
Yeah, there's nothing particularly unique on this.
Okay. Any questions or comments, anyone? Ken?
Nope.
Then motion.
Scully seconds.
A roll call.
Gale's aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Scully, aye.
Alrighty. Number 10, administrative reports
Well,
and
only
operations.
only two things I really wanted to highlight on this for you is on that first administrative sheet, you can see that the industrial is down, sort of significantly. That's owing to We Energy's finding the leak that they have on their property that was going for, I would say, more than a year. Sort of ridden that high, yeah, and now we're back down to this would be more normal. So while it's less than last year, it's really back to a more normal. The other item on there is on the plant report, and I just wanted to highlight the smart filter analyzer demo that we did with Badger Meters, now the company that owns that. They came in and did that, and what it does is it will model for us the filter bed expansion as we're backwashing, and also measure the turbidity, which we've been doing by hand. And it's going okay, but not great. But this is a method of us optimizing that backwash. So if we can stop throwing clear water down the filter when it's clean, then we can save a bunch of water that way. That's what these are really intended to do. So it was a really nice effort that Mike and his team put together. Lastly, I have 2 more BOPWACA meetings. I've decided to retire January. Yep, all I have.
For you.
Mike, I got 2 things for you.
Yes, sir.
The Shepherd Avenue project seems to have stalled. What's going on there?
Oh my goodness. That project has been a project from heck. So we had all the flooding that delayed the project. They had a restraint cap that they put on that wasn't restrained enough. So that blew off, caused a water main break there, delayed them. Then they had failed back T samples or safe samples on that new water main that they put in, trying to figure out what to do with that. Long story short, they're going to shut down that main, which includes the school, tonight at 9:30 to rechlorinate that section of main, let it cook for a while, then they'll take their safe sample and hopefully be able to move on. It's all stalled because of that right now. Yeah, it's been a mess.
Idle. That's a mess.
It has, yeah.
Traffic-wise, it's a mess. Anyway, and the other thing I had a question on, Mike, in the intake line that you're fixing, is that the old one or is that the existing new one?
The old one.
Old one. So we're going to put it back serviceable in shape or not?
Yes, we're going to put it so we can actually use it as a backup if we need to. Yeah, exactly. And we just got yesterday the DNR permit for that, so we're all set to go. It's just a matter of scheduling the contractor. Yes, we're either going to be able to use it or not, so let's get it fixed and be able to.
And then, I don't remember actually having a cost-wise for that. Is that part of a CIP project or is that just kind of?
It is part of a CIP project, it's $500,000, but it's not been awarded yet. That's why we haven't seen anything yet. Yeah, we have to do it.
That's all I got.
Be extremely expensive.
I imagine. But is that, how long, is it a mile out in the lake as well or not?
3,000 feet.
But we haven't used it in what?
Oh, probably since the late 90s when we put the new intake in. The new intake has got so much better water quality. We really didn't want to use the other one, and I think that's part of the problem. We need to still exercise it, flush it out, make sure that sand doesn't build up, and that's what we're going to do going forward.
Kurt, do you have a backup down there?
Number 311, consider a motion to recommend the common council various capital projects.
Max Gagan, Deputy City Administrator and Finance Officer. So what you have before you today is the proposed 2026 capital improvement plan. I did provide a brief memo, which I'll just go through quickly, and then a spreadsheet that's all the projects by department as well as by funding source. So just looking at the CIP as a whole, it totals about $9 million, just shy of $9 million, which is similar size to some of the past year CIPs. You can see on the first page of the memo, it breaks it down by funding source, and then you do have a spreadsheet that breaks it down by department as well as funding source. So if you recall, the way to read the spreadsheet is it's sorted by department and then project, and then at the top there's columns. The columns are showing the various funding sources within our capital improvement program. Then if you read down each line, each row is a project. Those projects that are highlighted in blue, those are what we kind of consider reoccurring capital projects. So those are things that we're doing from 1 year to the next. Certainly we've had conversations on those in the past, but if the board has questions on any of those, we're happy to have those again. And then there is one item, it's highlighted in green. We try and highlight anything that has like a federal, state, or local grant commitment to it. So the one project that is highlighted was related to dispatch and replacing the councils through a state grant, and we just found out this Friday that our project's not eligible. So what we'll do is we'll probably pull that one when it goes to the council. So we'll continue, and hopefully the program rules change that would make that project eligible. The councils that are still in service probably don't go end of life for another year, so we do have some time. But if other people are willing to pay for over 90% of it, let's try and do that. So you'll see of the blue items that they total about $1 million out of $2 million cash, and then we do have, you'll see something called an annual transportation debt issue. And just some background on that, the next section of the memorandum kind of talks about an enhanced surface transportation rehabilitation program. So one of the things as we were going through this process last year, come to the realization that our reoccurring capital projects are really taking a larger portion of the CIP, as well as we've only been doing about $500,000 to $1 million worth of road projects a year. And if you were to look at our road and transportation infrastructure, we should really be spending about $3 to $4 million. So, when we talked about it with the Common Council at the budget workshop, they asked if we can explore opportunities to see if, one, we can increase our investment in that surface transportation infrastructure, and how do we do it? And can we do it in means that helps free up available funding for the rest of the capital improvement program? So after looking at some options, one of the things we settled on is proceeding to do an annual debt issuance for the transportation projects each year. Originally was proposed at $3 million, but given what the tax impact was, Common Council said, let's go ahead and do $4 million, because that would really take us to a rate where we can kind of reverse the curve on our PACER rating or the deterioration on the roads, and we can catch some of the roads before they need to be completely milled and overlaid. So a lot of more preventative maintenance. And of that amount, it's really allocated not just for roads, but also for sidewalks and trail infrastructure as well. So what you'll see is $3,750,000 is for road infrastructure, and then $250,000 for sidewalk and trail infrastructure. Matt can probably provide you some more details on the program, but instead of we were mostly focusing on surface treatments and arterials, whereas the program's designed that will make some impacts on some of the residents as well. So Matt, do you have any other things to share on the program?
No, I think Max covered it very well. In regards to the sidewalk program, the 250, over the last 2 years, we've been using a company called Safe Step to identify trip hazards per our code. We've been spending about $60,000 a year to basically shave those off, if you will, saw them. But we haven't been replacing anything that's been greater than what you could do with the shaving, which has created that need for the $250,000 that we've allocated to it. So we'll be looking to, promote some projects out there for about like 150,000 and increase our other program with the shaving through Safe Step to increase our ability to basically catch up, I guess, on our maintenance for sidewalks. So that's the point of the 250. The 3.75 was identified as an acceptable level to start maintaining our roads at an acceptable manner, or a manner we thought was appropriate. This does include surface treatments, mill and overlays, and some reconstruction. So it's going to be the whole spectrum we're going to try to look to take care of.
And then just last thing to highlight, so now that there's $2 million worth of cash, we're able to fund all the capital project requests. We also did utilize some cash on hand, so not necessarily reoccurring revenue, but revenue that generally comes about from seeing surplus budget results. So the utilization of cash on hand, I just want to highlight for the board, is $345,000 from the capital projects fund. You may recall that our surplus in 2024, we allocated $2 million of that from the general fund to the capital projects fund. The 2025 CIP utilized about 1.45 million of that, so there's still available balance to utilize for projects in this year. Utilizing a very small balance, we have a stormwater vehicle and equipment sinking fund, so we set aside $75,000 a year to help with the vehicle replacement and equipment replacement for stormwater related purchases. Utilizing a small portion of that to pay for a portion of the GPS unit for engineering. And then lastly, our equipment replacement fund. So this was a sinking fund established 5-7 years ago, capitalized. We'd like to keep it at about $1 million, and this is intended to help us offset some of those more challenging years when we have large capital equipment replacements. So the fund's current balance is about $1.1 million, so it's a little bit higher than that $1 million benchmark we set. And that's because any equipment sale proceeds that we receive from auction, I deposit into that fund, with the thought being that as we get rid of surplus equipment, we get the money for it, let's recapitalize that fund instead of just putting it to fund balance for any other use. So if we're to spend $400,000 out of that fund, that would take it to about $700,000 again the next year. Just looking at the general fund budget results through today, we feel very confident we'll be able to replenish at least that $300,000 to get it back up to $1 million at year end. With that, that's really all I had. We're happy to have the conversation as the board desires. It's easiest just to kind of start at the top and go through by department, by project. We can do that.
Bad. Absolutely. I think we're being a little bit too humble. We made some major investments in our capital improvement budget over the last 9 months of conversation with the Common Council. We're moving from a roads budget from $1 million to $4 million. A lot of questions we get with all of the growth in the community is, what are we doing to keep up what we have? And our strategic plan addresses that. And over the last couple of years, not only has the Common Council invested in public safety staffing in the 2024 public safety staffing plan, that was a $2 million investment in those resources on the streets. This was a major lift in our CIP. So really proud of our council for stepping forward and making that investment. But what that does is really make this budget a little bit easier than it has in years past, because we have the 1 million now recurring locked away, but the road budget essentially changed to the road budget, allowed for an additional $1 million of discretionary spending in the CIP for roads and things like that. So we were really able, as Matt put, really able to meet the requests of the departments that came through. We want you to vet those and make sure we're seeing that clearly and add to that and improve that product. But we were able to really accommodate the entire request, all of the requests, with using only a little bit of cash. Actually, probably the lowest amount of cash we've used in the last 2 or 3 budgets for sure in the capital fund. So really proud of this CIP, and just thank everybody for the work and the council for stepping forward on those major generational really investments in roads. We are keeping up with our community growth.
know, we should, specific questions. Overall, I don't think we need to go into detail on every one of them. I think they're self-sufficient and they, you know.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of controversy in here, but I don't remember without going through where I had questions.
I think what we'll do is I'll just have departments come up and we'll focus on things that aren't highlighted in blue and just have them, come if you want to ask questions about it, or if they want to just give a brief synopsis.
We don't need to spend a great deal of time on this. I don't think it's controversial.
So I guess the first one for administrative services, we have a small office build out. If you $5,000, if you have any questions on it, Sarah Carrier here to speak to it. But essentially what that would help do is kind of better reorient the staff, and it would actually free up about 3 workspaces and then get all the assessor's office staff downstairs. One of the things, we did some reorganization with that department last fall, and one of the things we were charged with was trying to find some additional space for the assessor's office. So this is part of it that's going to accomplish that goal. We do have it at 85,000, given the bids that Matt just opened. It may come slightly over budget, and if it does, we'll come back to the board and probably apply some surplus funds.
Kind of wild to watch, or interesting to see how this whole concept evolved in the 10 years we've been in this building. That's I'm just picturing that is kind of as you walk through that back office, there's definitely a kind of unused.
Yeah, so essentially, and we didn't have the ability to have graphics done right now, but essentially what we were trying to do is that in that back office where Carrie's office, where Sherry Grant's former office was, essentially building an office right next to it that punches through. There's space behind there that used to be used for like training and things. But essentially create an office there, and then that would actually have a secondary door to the front counter. Certainly we get concerns about safety and security of the front counter staff being so isolated. So the thought is that if you create an office there and move the assistant administrative service director, who has direct access to the front then, who can also see the front staff, and then what that allows is then there's an additional office space. We would rearrange some of the staff, bring all the ASA staff forward, and then kind of closer to the windows where the assessor staff would then go.
I've seen both, but
Yeah. And again, that's where the original estimate was. The original estimate was based off the office build out we did a year and a half ago, that unit pricing, and then when Matt just opened his bids last week, it was a little bit higher. So again, I think for now we're comfortable with at least staying with 85. Maybe we can try and do it as a winter project, see if we get favorable pricing. If not, we feel comfortable. There are surplus dollars with the capital projects fund, just with the amount of interest it's going to earn with unspent dollars, that we'll come back to the board and we'll let you know. Let's go.
I could probably speak to that too. Not only would it create office space, but there'll be some additional storage within that. Other ways of efficiency here too might be with the fire station number 3 office build out that they're requesting. Bundling packages here, because there's going to be kind of similar type of work. So we might find some cost by size, some efficiencies there. So we'll just have to explore that a little bit more, I think, as we get going next year. But we could definitely probably come up with something a little more outside the box to try to hopefully get a little better bid prices.
Thank you.
Next is engineering. Matt, if you want to speak a little bit about some of the larger stormwater items you got.
Yeah, obviously I'm open for any questions here, but 2 of our larger items here, which are our newer projects, would be our County Line Road culvert replacement. Obviously everyone is kind of familiar if they live down in the southwest portion of the city on Oakwood. We had a box culvert failure through some investigation that and inspections that are done through the county. Smaller culverts that aren't under the HSIS bridge replacement program for DOT. Milwaukee County went through a program where we joined. They went through inspections and identified the one on Oakwood where we had to put plates, do an emergency repair, which actually will be happening within the next month here. But they also identified another box culvert that is similar era, similar build, that's starting to show those failures as well. So we're just trying to get ahead of the curve here. Instead of going to a failure, we'd rather just replace it, get it done. Our price here is based on costs that we received on the last project with a little bit of inflation. The Montana Avenue storm sewer reconstruction. This is an area that we're seeing failures and have been seeing failures in the last 2 or 3 years. This is nothing more than replacing old pipe, which is steel culvert that has failed out pretty much entirely. Bottoms are gone. We're looking to replace that, add some actual structures so we have a little bit better control of what's happening out there. Those are the two major projects that we, other than our typical yearly ones.
Any other questions for Matt?
Yeah, we have looked at that. So I think the big thing to note is that the payment of debt service is actually exempt from levy limits. So, that was actually one of the impetus to kind of move in this borrowing direction, is because, we see that as levy limits are starting to constrain the operating budget more, like trying to utilize general revenues for operating expenses is going to be more and more paramount. So it is exempt. We are amortizing it as if it's a 10-year issuance, kind of level funded. So essentially it's going to take 10 years for the tax impact to ramp up. And then once you hit year 11, essentially you're going to be retiring the same amount of debt as you're bringing on. So it'll kind of be a flat tax impact for the taxpayer. From an expenditure restraint period perspective, unfortunately we're going to be out of the program probably in the next year or two, just because our equalized tax rate is going to drop below 5 mils. So what we're projecting with this budget is our equalized tax rate is going to be probably 5.04. So we're going to be pretty close out, but who's not to say if property values don't start appreciating as much, and then if you're bringing on more debt service and levying for it, that actually helps increase the tax rate to hopefully keep us in the program. But our debt service fund is actually excluded from like the expenditure restraint calculation. Great questions.
I had a couple things for Matt. Sorry. Matt, the county line culvert, that's the one that's just east of the railroad crossing?
That is correct.
Do we have any issue with how close that is to that railroad crossing?
No, that's far enough away.
Yeah, because that thing is tiny.
Yeah, it's a smaller culvert, exact same construction that we dealt with on Oakwood.
Cool. And then and on the other, ditch maintenance, actually having a sustained program to deal with this?
Yes, the 500,000.
Yeah, and I like the fact that we're gonna outside for skill to actually be efficient at that.
Yeah, so this next year we're actually already working on a subdivision, but we're looking to just contract that out separately, not with the road project, in hopes that we can get a more specialized firm that does it.
And just there's the fact that we're doing the same thing on the stormwater pond maintenance thing. Appreciated. So
Yeah, we're continuing through our stormwater maintenance pond. We actually have about 24 ponds that the city owns currently. That's under our maintenance, but we're also required under our permitting through the DNR to basically check in on all of the private ponds, and there's about 220 ponds throughout the city that are privately owned and maintained. That is part of the program, but we're just kind of hitting the tip of the iceberg right now on our maintenance. And Abendschein is a clear example of one where we started our work. You can already see some of the effects where cattails are starting to be managed, I guess, a little bit more appropriately. And we're looking at several ponds working with other departments that have ponds on their facilities, maintain those. So the 250 would be well spent.
And then the only last thing, just, sorry, reiterate the fact that in the sidewalk and trail improvements program, just make sure we're not only fixing what we have, but a key part of that was the fact that we wanted to make sure we're closing some stupid segments that are missing in our sidewalk and for just community getting
enhancement.
around.
Yep. So obviously we want to do that connectivity. That's one of the main goals with the program. First, we'd like to maintain that we are identifying a lot of the connectivity issues that we have throughout the city through some of the open space planning that's happening right now with our community development group. Once we get those reports, we'll be able to start identifying those areas and start working that into the program.
That's all I got, Goose. What else? All right.
Next, fire department, if you want to either come speak to your items or if the board has any questions on them.
Good morning, board members. Mike Kresick, Fire Chief. Just talk real briefly about a couple of the larger requests in our CIP budget. Ambulance replacement. We currently have a inventory of 4 ambulances. The 3 frontline are a 2018, 2019, and a 2024. We do have one on order that we anticipate in 26 or 27 that will replace the 2018. This request focus on that 2019, which currently sits at 144,000 miles. One thing I want to point out about this request, it is approximately a 3-year turnaround on this purchase. So with the order at the start of next year, we would anticipate it in 2028, 2029. What we are exploring is a remount. We did not include the remount details in this because we don't have a firm cost estimate on that, but essentially a remount would allow us to keep the existing patient care box of the ambulance and placed on a new chassis. There are 3 levels of remount with Braun, 1, 2, and 3, each with different details and each with different cost approximations. We've evaluated our 2018 and 2019 ambulances, and we feel they both would warrant a level 2. Again, when we receive that cost estimate on the remount, that we are hoping that brings the cost down substantially for our next ambulance and shortens the turnaround time substantially. From maybe 36 months to somewhere in the 12 to 16 month range.
Does a different company do that versus?
No, Braun does. It is through the manufacturer. So that gives us a little bit of comfort, right? The company that built our ambulances are also the ones doing the remounts. They understand their technology. We've had great experience with the quality of the builds. So certainly we have a level of comfort with the remounts, if the price point matches, if it makes sense for us.
Just have to have a reserve during that time because that ambulance goes away while it's being built.
That's exactly right. With our most recent addition, we now have 4 Braun ambulances. And again, our experience with the quality of those units has been very good. We have a little bit more comfort now with 4 Brauns in service as opposed to when we had the 3 Brauns and then the old Medtechs. So we also are going to look at contingencies with that, the potential to utilize for a short-term obligation our neighbors' backup ambulances or look at a leasing option if that length of delivery elongates. Also want to take a second to talk about the Station 3 Office Edition. Our Station 3 was built in 2000. Our department has changed since that time in terms of administrative staff and function. We now have an administrative lieutenant of prevention, a part-time fire inspector, an administrative lieutenant for our mobile integrated healthcare. And our administrative staff, our executive assistant, her responsibilities have changed from merely a receptionist and some record keeping to have more business manager type functions. What we're looking to do is to add 3 office spaces, utilizing space in our current training room. I should point out that our training room, when the station was built, was utilized for MATC classes as well as other community groups to host programs there. That has changed dramatically over time also. MATC merely maintains classes on their campuses at this point. And the use of that facility from community groups has changed. Other options have become available. So we feel comfortable utilizing some of that space in that training room to add 3 offices that allow a part-time fire inspector, our MIH lieutenant, and a ancillary space for Laura, our executive assistant, to have a private workspace. It would also include a project that builds basically a hallway from our 2 assistant chief offices into the training room, gives them a little bit more privacy and separation from that training area. Be happy to answer any questions about that project.
Oh, we're good.
And the last item from a priority perspective and a relatively low value amount is our rescue airbag replacement. Our rescue airbags are an essential piece of extrication and machinery rescue equipment. We currently have airbags placed on each of our 3 fire apparatus out of each of our stations. Those airbags have reached the end of life and are not completely compatible with our new self-contained breathing apparatus, which provides some of the air functionality for them. We are going to downsize, carry 1 set of airbags on our truck out of Station 1. This project will replace those and put that 1 unit into service. I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Good, Mike?
Looks good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so next department's IT. So really 2 larger projects, one with our building access control system and phone system. So have Brent up here. He can kind of talk you through what we're looking to accomplish with these 2 larger projects.
Good morning, Brent Miller, Assistant IT Director. First one we're looking at is updating our building access control systems. Systems have gotten kind of dated. We're having some random failures. We are looking to purchase a system that would be unified, software, hardware, also would integrate into our video recording systems, so we could actually match time with video to better control access. The system that we're currently using is getting long in the tooth. The software vendor is going to no longer be supporting the platform, so this would put us in a good position moving forward. Any questions on that one? The second one we are looking at is upgrading our city's phone systems. The current system is about 10 years old. The cost of maintaining that system, annual maintenance, licensing, has continued to increase. The new system we're looking to put in would actually end up saving us money after about 5 years. We are currently using that system. We deployed it for South Milwaukee and have had really good luck with it, the new one. So that's what we're looking to move forward with.
Thank you.
Matt, if you want to speak to some of the maintenance projects we got.
Yes, thank you. We have three major items. I guess we'll start off, if you have any questions on anyone, maybe you can take care of those answers. If not, I can just kind of go over them.
My only one was Dick's got that quoted for the DPW HVAC replacement. Is that going to be sized enough to accommodate any new space we build there?
That's one thing I was going to bring up. I think there has to be discussions on that depending on space needs and what direction we actually take. But currently, right now, that unit is actually getting to the point that it needs to be replaced, simply because product availability for maintenance on it just is becoming obsolete. So there might actually, I think, if new space is needed and the direction is to move forward with combining the utility and DPW, we'd probably just have another roof mount for the new space.
As long as we're thinking about it.
Yep. So. Other than that, obviously there are 2 larger items there. So fire station 3 sprinkler system. This is the sprinkler system that's within the building there that actually has seen significant deterioration and is no longer in service. The pipes themselves are failed. There's holes in them. We can't actually utilize those. The issue that we have with this project is the accessibility to it. It's above the roof line. It's within insulation. And the roof line, if you ever go to Fire Station 3 is very steep, but it's towards the end of that roof line, so it's hard to get to. So there'll have to be removal of all the insulation. Poles will have to be popped through drywall, have to be managed that way. We did find a architectural firm to do the plans themselves, and then we're looking to bid this out, but the cost is substantial just because of the amount of work, effort to replace that entire system so it can become functional.
How does something like that go wrong?
So from what I understand is the metal that was used, the steel that was used, they're running into this issue nationwide. Bought through China when it was actually originally done, and for some reason, I don't want to blame any country or anything like that, but this type of material has been failing significantly throughout the country. The other item is our Civic Center masonry and window flashing repairs. We requested an additional $160,000 on that. So we actually did rebid just our east face. We were trying to do a different approach. Remember, we rejected bids prior. Actually, tonight on Common Council will be another item to reject bids again.
Okay.
We had an estimate of near $180,000 to do that work on just the east side. They actually ended up coming in about $323,000, significantly more. So we actually are pulling back a little bit to be more reactionary on the windows. That seemed to be the cost driven part of the bids. So we're going to be replacing only the ones and fixing only the ones that are leaking currently, and be more reactive on that, but be more proactive on the masonry part. Masonry, probably from our original bids, were about $500,000 total, maybe a little bit more to fix the entire area. So what we want to do is start putting together projects as we progress and try to fix the areas that are worse as we move forward. But obviously, as your scale increases, the costs do come down a little bit. Unfortunate, but it needs to be attended to. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Nope. Thank you.
All right, so the next one is marketing and public relations, the website redesign and development.
I can muddle through this one. Essentially, we launched our website almost 8 years ago already. Technology's changed. The content management system is no longer supported. There are also some regulations and EDA compliance the city and many municipalities will need to meet by April of 2027 that we're concerned about. But more generally speaking, the functionality of our website really doesn't afford us the best integration with all of the things that we are trying to do, especially on the visit and the tourism side of things. So we think there's a lot more utility left on the table with advancing a new digital platform here, let alone the compliance and regulations that we are trying to meet in an unsupported system that we currently have. So I don't know if the shelf life of a website is 7 to 10 years now, which probably is true, but certainly we're looking to propel and modernize and integrate all of the functions that we need to on the visit side and on the city and municipal services side moving forward.
Andrew, do you have a feel, or does Marcia have a feel how long something like that is going to take? I know the last iteration seemed like it took a long time to actually fire up.
Well, so, this was, we have a brand new marketing and public relations department, and I wouldn't have expected anything less than year one, our mouthpiece to the outside world. The website, that team would be looking at that and saying, we can really improve upon how we do that. And because we weren't necessarily ready to go and the department was relatively new, we did try to get another year out of that, and I asked at the last budget cycle to try to be more ready and hit the ground running. So we have had a team of people, volunteer work group of employees across departments, launching that information gathering stakeholder feedback. So by January 1, if this money is released, the team's going to be ready to go. I don't want to put them in a corner and say it's going to be launched at 2Q 2026 or something like that. I don't know what the project pathway is.
We're hiring out the design though,
But we
right?
are getting, yes, we will. We'll have to go through an RFP process. I know that's been worked on. We're pretty close to that. So we're a little more ready than just ideation at this stage.
That Andrew kind of touched on it with the ADA accessibility. So again, that's a federal standard. So I believe all local governments over 50,000 population actually have to have their new websites in place by April of 2026. We're under 50,000, so it's April of 2027. So you can only imagine there's 88,000 local governments in this country, and they'll have to get websites basically done in the next 2 years. So really want us to get started, but my guess is those vendors will be putting a lot of resources into this as well to meet these new ADA compliance standards.
The only question I have is, do we work with the chamber at all in this advertising of the city?
We do. We don't have a formal relationship with the chamber contractually, but we do with the Tourism Commission. But we certainly partner with the chamber on many events and ribbon cuttings. We made a concerted effort a couple years ago to not try to duplicate things that they do well or that we do well, and they wouldn't duplicate those. So I think there's a lot more we could be doing, but certainly we have a great relationship. Our marketing and PR team is very active in the chamber, and the chamber is active with the city.
Thank you.
Next, have police department. All three of theirs are reoccurring items. Have anything to add?
Sure. Good morning, Chief Stecker, Oak Creek Police Department. Real quick, they are all reoccurring. A couple things have changed. Body armor replacement, that's a yearly thing we're on a cycle for, and it's always a different amount of officers. We always ask for the full amount with the hopes that we can get a federal grant that offsets that. The most that grant will offset is up to 50%. Unfortunately, last year into this year is the first year in about 30 years that we did not get that grant. This year, with a lot that's going on at the federal government and the grant processes and cutting out or verifying what should or shouldn't be grant money, this year's hasn't even been posted. We're probably about 4 months past when it should have been posted and closed, so we have no idea if it's going to continue into next year or if this will be something that's ongoing or a program that dies here until we have a different change of who's in charge in the government. So any questions on the body armor? Police vehicle and equipment replacement. So we started last year with taking that out of the operating budget and getting that into the CIP process. We did that for the vehicles. What we didn't do was the associated equipment with those vehicles. So that's the full version that you have this year, is the complete moving of that out of the operating budget over. So that would be encompassing 4 replacement vehicles for patrol and 1 administrative vehicle. There's a spreadsheet in there outlining all the equipment that goes in there. Typically we can reuse a lot of it, but there's some that has to get replaced just because of use. And also the vehicles may look very much the same, but from one model year to the next, Ford and Chevy love to change stuff so that we can't reuse things. So that's our estimations as to where we're at for this going next year. One item to note though on that for the administrative vehicle is we have several different options in there. We were toying around with the possibility of an EV, but more research that we've done along the way so far is we don't believe that we're at that point yet to do a police vehicle, even an administrative one as an EV with the infrastructure not only there, but the use of it, especially in the cold months. So right now we're looking at several different options. They're all in the same wheelhouse of cost. It's just what we decide to go for at that point. So we'll obviously come forward when we have an actual price for that and what the difference is. Any question on the vehicles? Taser unit replacements. It's not to replace the actual units. It's more of a maintenance item for batteries, cartridges. There's a requirement every year for us to recertify every officer, and you have to utilize at least 2 cartridges during that training time. People coming on that are new, we need to go through the training as well. So this is just to maintain our tasers in a good working order so that we can utilize them on the streets. They are a very unique tool in our tool belt. It's also a very effective one instead of possibly needing to use a much higher level of force to gain and maintain control of somebody. So very effective. I know it's costly, but the alternative to that of using something higher, I think the cost well outweighs the use of these. Be happy to answer any questions you have on tasers. All right. And as Max stated earlier with the police/dispatch part, we did not get the grant for this year. We have approximately 3 to 4 years left on our current radio consoles, so at some point we have to replace them, but trying to get that grant is what will follow back up next year, and we'll keep trying to look at alternative pathways so that we're not on the hook for all of the money and we get a federal partner or a state partner that'll help offset that. Thank you.
All right, last we have DPW, if you want to speak to those items.
Yeah, thank you. So some of the items that are not reoccurring, the compact track loader. This is looking at replacing a 2011 skid steer that we purchased roughly 15 years ago. And that was kind of, I guess, our first foot or stepping stone into a skid steer and utilizing that equipment. And it seems we, especially more recently, have outgrown that. So we're looking really we're kind of at the point 15 to 20 years where we would want to replace this unit, and it makes a lot of sense for us to upgrade it to, as far as just being a skid steer, really being more of a compact track loader. We've noticed that, especially we had purchased last year a mini paver so that we can do larger areas of street that we can repave and do a smoother job in the resurface work. But we've noticed pretty quickly that it's very bouncy and a little bit tough to control given the weight of that attachment. And so just because the machine that we have currently isn't a very heavy duty, it doesn't have a lot of weight to it to accommodate a larger attachment such as that. We've also seen it with our Harley rake. We've seen it just with when we try to do too much sand, gravel particularly. You just have to be careful with the amount that you're putting in the bucket at a given time because it's going to tip the machine forward because unfortunately the machine doesn't have a lot of weight to it. So looking at this compact track loader, this will give us a lot more stability and the power that we need so we don't see the machine overheating in the future. It'll also help out too when we sometimes rent out brush clearing attachment, which we use kind of by the lakefront things that can take small trees down and really do an effective job of doing that clearance. We'll be able to save money there as well and not having to rent a larger loader when we rent the attachment. So really, this will be the attachment that we'll be paying for on those jobs. Do you have any questions with the loader? Next is the excavator grapple replacement. If you recall, last year we had gotten a steel wrist that we're using for primarily a lot with our culvert replacement and our ditch restoration work. This grapple will allow us to basically switch between that bucket that we're using and a grapple essentially within 10 seconds. It really just detaches, moves the machine over, connect it to the next one, and it basically snaps into place. Previously, if we are doing some of that work, potentially on like a culvert or something like that, we may be using the bucket, but then if we need to use the grapple for moving, whether it's pipe or larger material block, we need to take it back to the shop. It takes roughly 2 hours or so for them to detach and reattach the new assembly. So that'll definitely speed up that process, make it a little bit safer, and it's just going to allow us to quickly move over to, especially when we do storm cleanup damage with branches and those types of things. Having the grapple will utilize that when we have extremely large piles that really take too much time for crews to be able to remove when they're going through the entire city. It also helps pick up if people have roots, tree roots, or larger items that we can't pick up by hand. So that item we had put in there for $20,000.
I mean, that's the kind of stuff especially as we're not gonna be able to really add significant manpower as the city continues to have more demand.
A lot, yeah, that pick up brush a lot quicker.
The fact that you can change it in the field,
Yeah, absolutely.
that piece of equipment back to the yard.
Yep, less time wasted or out of the field for that period of time, and less too as well for the mechanics staff to make the switch. It's been a couple, 2, maybe 3 years now since we've actually replaced a dump truck or snowplow. So we're looking to do that again. Really, it's been difficult to get a hold of some of the plows at given times. I know for a while there was a wait period that, okay, we thought let's work on replacing the loader and some other items while we kind of hope for the industry to kind of catch back up. So we are in a position now where we're able to get essentially a demo unit where they might drive it around to a few sites ahead of time, but we're able to reserve one prior to. So if we move forward with this, it would be readily available at the beginning of next year. It's definitely gone up in price. It's actually a little less than it was the prior year, but we are at about $265,000, and that's fully outfitting it with the box, spreader, pre-wet system, wing, plow, and all of those items. And fortunately, there's not a huge tariff on it yet. I think they said right around $2,000, so that's pretty insignificant. But future years, we're probably going to look at a $15,000 to $20,000 increase just with new emission standards that I think are finally going to take effect. We had a couple parks projects and also a mower for the parks. We'll cover Carrollton Park rehabilitation. This is another park where we're looking at where we have 2 tennis courts, looking at kind of reconfiguring that so that we've got 1 tennis court still, but then 2 pickleball courts. As that demand just continues to be there, I get people are just taking up pickleball, I guess. So I think that's just a good use and us adapting to kind of some of the different changes and needs of what people are looking to do in the parks. Put in $190,000 for that work. Hopefully it'll cost a little bit less just based on some of the bids we received for a past project that we'll be completing this fall and into next spring. But we just want to kind of keep up on that replacement schedule of those courts so we don't fall too far behind. Chapel Hills, we were looking at replacing that playground structure completely. We're finding at about 30 years is when we want to look at fully replacing all of the parts and putting in new structures. I think we do a good job of replacing components a little bit at a time to get them to that point, but just between safety as it gets closer to 30 years old and just appearance, the sun doesn't make the structures look all that great after 30 years. We were kind of looking at starting to implement that more on an annual basis if possible, but looking at kind of that 30 years benchmark if necessary. And really with Chapel Hills, this would be a nice addition because they did have the basketball court and the pickleball tennis courts as well as the backstop all replaced within the last couple of years. So this will kind of be the final piece to really making all the amenities, at least in that park, pretty much brand new. And finally, we have a large mower replacement that we're looking at. This is one of the 10-foot, 5-inch four-wheel drive mowers that take care of a lot of over roughly 20 park sites that we have and over 250 acres. And this we're looking at 15 to 20 years is where we'd like to see that replaced, and it'll be just going on 20 years now. So it would be good to get one of those couple units replaced. Yeah, I mean, we definitely had the equity that's accrued and allowed us to add vehicles. I think the numbers aren't as good as they were for a few years there where the market was just timed out well. I mean, the timing that we ended up getting into that worked out well. So, there's going to be adjustments where it has to go up over time, but I think that's the same as if we were purchasing vehicles over time, we're going to slowly have to bump up that cost. But yeah, I think just with, really, we haven't increased that program in several years. I know we went up 25,000 last year, but really that was bringing in 3 new vehicles too for the fire department. So outside of that, we really haven't made any adjustments, and we've been able to still add 10 vehicles, I'd say, to that budget.
I think overall too, the other aspect of that, I imagine the workers appreciate it, driving around in a higher quality vehicle. Well, it's a good look for the city. Have a uniform fleet of stuff, in my opinion.
You know, we make those individual decisions every time about reselling a vehicle. So we get to vet those with, they bring, Enterprise brings forward the opportunities. And for one reason, several reasons or another, we'll decide at that time it's the right time or not. I'd say refer to them mostly. They are acting as our consultant to get that equity. So we have held off in the past when things weren't right on a certain vehicle or certain features. So we do get to make those decisions along the way too. It's not just we're in or out of the program.
Any other questions down there? And
Nope, I'm good.
next, where are we going from here?
So with that, we would just ask for the board's concurrence with the proposed CIP and recommendation to the common council. So on your agenda, there is a motion to that effect. No, we'll just take that out. We all recognize, as Chief Stecker mentioned, it's not something that's end of life. We're just trying to be opportunistic, and it just didn't happen. No, we'll just take that out.
Gail move to, is he ready?
Yeah.
Gail moves to recommend that the common council include various capital improvement plan items in its 2026 CIP budget.
Segali seconds.
Roll call.
Gale's aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Segali, aye.
Anything else?
Very efficient capital meeting.
Yeah.
Gail moves to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Roll call.
Gale, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Segali, aye.